In this tutorial, I'm going to show you real quickly how to use the Flex Slider plugin that is now available. And when you upload and install the plugin, once it's activated, you will have a new menu called Flex Slider under your Appearance tab. And when you click on that, you will see the Flex Slider options as shown on the screen. Now when you activate the plugin, and if you don't have any customized content in your feature area, it's just going to rotate through the feature.php, the default content that comes with the theme. And you'll actually see the slider rotating through these three boxes. That's box 1, special offer 1 is box 2, and special offer 2 is box 3. So what we're going to do is we're not going to use the feature.php file, but rather we're going to go in and use widgets in our top feature area. Now you can use any kind of widget that you want. As an example, I'm just going to throw an archives and a recent comments in there and refresh, and there's our archives and there's our recent comments. So those are the two widgets that we just dropped in there. So that's just an example that you can use any kind of widget that you want. I'm going to get rid of these. And I have some sample widgets here. I'm going to do this one, which is mountains. These are just some images. Grab these three, and now I want to get rid of the title because I don't want the title to show. And the third one. Okay, now I'm going to go back and refresh the site, and we'll have these images, but you notice the padding around the images, and there is an option in the plugin. If we go back to the Flex Slider plugin options, clear down at the bottom, remove padding, yes, and that will remove that padding. So if you have images or other content that need to expand the full width and height of the top feature area, you can turn that padding off. So here we have just three images, and they are rotating through. Now you notice the navigation tabs, they show up and then they disappear. That's because this is the last one, this is the first one, there is no previous. That's the middle one, it has both. So they go on and off as needed. Now I'm going to take you through some of the options that are available on this slider. Now the first one, the slider loop options, you have two options. You have loop or stop. Loop is just a continual looping. It never stops. It rotates through all the images continuously. Now if you want to stop, and let's put in stop at slide number 3, and let's see what that happens. It's going to start with 1. It'll transition to 2, and now to 3, and it doesn't do anything else because we told it to stop at number 3. Now what this is useful for is, say for example you have the first two widgets are kind of a teaser text, if you will, maybe some graphics that lead you into the next slide, but maybe slide 3 you want to put your opt-in, and that's your call to action page, and you want that to stop and be visible once all the other slides have displayed. So that is what this option is for. You can stop it on a specific slide. I'm going to change that back to loop, and once it's set to loop, this option does nothing. The next set of options is the slide sync, transition, and speed options. Okay, now this first option, let me show you what this does. Now I set it to 0, and we still have the transition set to fade. And if you notice the slides now, the first slide completely transitions out before the next one comes in. So if we set the sync to 1 and refresh, you'll get a little bit different transition. You'll actually see two images at the same time. So now you see the two images visible at the same time. It makes for a slightly smoother transition. The next option here in the transition controls the actual transition effect between slides, and there's a number of different ones here. This option, transition speed, is how fast this transition goes, and the slide delay controls how long the actual image or slide shows up before moving to the next one. So now I've switched the transition to a horizontal scroll, and you can see the difference there. And these, when we click these, we can go back and forth between the different slides. And change that to vertical, show you what that looks like. And it's just up and down. And you can play with these different effects and see what each one does. The next one, the slider navigation. You can turn it off if you wish, and that's the little buttons on the side. You can turn it off and just automatically have the slideshow do its thing. The user has no control over it. Turn it back on. These are the different styles of buttons that you can choose from. There are a lot of different looks. Now some, I'm going to go, if you notice this clear button, inner and outer. I'm going to show you what that does. And then actually, the button's semi-transparent, so it lets your background color show through. But it has the inner and outer. I'm going to change that to inner. And then we're going to go down here and change this to inner as well. And it's a different style of button, but it goes on the inside of the image, or of the feature area. So if you don't want your button hanging out here, you can position it with the inner option and put it on the inside. And the top position, if you notice here, it's not quite the middle. Maybe you want to center it. We'll change that to 210, and that's just absolute positioning on the top. That's how far it pushes it down, and 210 was a little much, but it shows you how it moved the buttons upward. And you can play with these different styles. There are some of these, like the next step. Let me show you those, because those are a little bit different what you can do. Now, it has just your next step and then a back. But what you can do with these is, if you know the height of your images, what you can do is go into the theme options, to the top feature, and you can set a specific height for your feature area. And let's see what 300 does here. Okay, so 300 does that, and it actually gives us this blank space down here. So if we go back to the slider options, and let's adjust this to, I don't know, let's try 400. See where that puts us. Okay, maybe a little bit much. So maybe 380. And now it actually puts our navigation below our slider. So you can actually move it around like that and position it where you want to. And the pagination navigation settings, let me turn those on. Okay, now we have these three green dots right in the middle there. Again, you need to position those vertically using the top position. It's set at 300 now. That would obviously need to be increased if you wanted it down. If you wanted it top centered, you could position it up there as well. You can position it center, left, or right, and you can choose your color. And that is really the slider options in a nutshell. you could do a lot of things with this little plugin. So don't be constrained to just doing images or things like that. You can do a lot of sales funnels and some good user interactivity using this slider plugin. So thanks for watching.